for this item, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Roychowdhury, who will provide the specifics. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good evening, Board President, members of the board, members in the audience. So Civic Center Act is a act that's ingrained in our education code where it states that public school facilities are really public facilities. So we are required to share the public facility that we have with members in the community. Of course, when school is not in session, or even if school is in session, it should be that we share whatever we are not using in that facility. So this is an unfunded mandate, and as a means to recover the cost, any direct costs associated with the civic center use, for example, if there are supplies that are being used by members of the public or members of the community, we can recover the cost of those supplies, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, and stuff like that, as well as our service cost for our employees who are required to clean and maintain those facilities, as well as some capital costs, although the capital cost is under consideration right now since January 1. But with just being that code compliant, we provide our facilities availability to all members in the community. It's on a first come, first serve basis. All our 35 facilities are available through a user interface software. It's called Civic Center, where user can go in, figure out which facility is available and what's the cost of the facility based on the type of user. So if it's a nonprofit, it has a separate rate versus if it's a full profit. Of course, there are some constraints that there will be, like the education code constraints, which no alcohol, no tobacco, nothing religious. It has to be secular and sorts of like that. So with that being said, we provide the facilities to our users. Users book them on a first come, first serve basis. We bill them for the uses and we collect the fees. We reimburse our employees for the fees and cost of the supplies. And that's how this process is.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roychowdhury. And I'm bringing that up because there's a lot of people in the community that reach out to me that are part of different recreational leagues. Like in the city of La Puente, they only have one park, and there's a bunch of like softball, football, baseball, like just a bunch of sporting leagues. And there's just not enough green spaces there. So I have people reaching out all the time, and I point them to the facilities use permit process. And so I'm not sure if it's like something happens where it just kind of falls there because there's still a need. And this system, is this the same system we've been using since like over 4 years?
Yes, this is the system we have been using for some time, but just this is kind of a ratification at this point of time for this year. We somehow, through an oversight, forgot to bring it in July 1, 2024. But we are planning to go to a different system starting July 1, 2025. It's a much more robust system, much more user-friendly, where folks or users can, and I'm kind of giving you a heads up because we have been exploring that for the last 6 months, where user can actually see the picture of the facility. So they can estimate what's the size of the facility. They have the visual picture. For example, if it's a gym, what's the seating capacity in the gym? Do they have microphones? And those kind of facilities will be available. And then also the billing will be directly to the users through that particular software. So we'll not have to be involved in billing because that's where we get into a lot of issues in keeping up. But this is the software we have been using for the last 4 years.
Great. I'm really excited to hear about this innovative, more robust program, right? Because there is a need for an increase of green spaces. And so I'm glad we're kind of moving in that direction. So I think this is exciting. We're increasing green spaces. We've already been doing it, but I want to encourage, if you know organizations out there that are part of little leagues or anything, cheer, tell them to come use our facilities. That's what it's here for. From my understanding, it's beneficial to us, right, to use the facilities because they're being maintained and being used and maximized. And so I want to encourage people to get the word out to apply for our facilities use permits. And that's it. Mr. De La Torre?
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple of questions, I guess, in regards to, I don't know if I can get a list of the organizations, associations, businesses that are currently using our district facilities. Also, I wanted to ask in regards to the fees. Is it one set dollar amount, no matter how big the usage is? You know, if it's for teaching second language, or if it's for sports, is there a different price given? I know the city of La Puente, you know, we have some empty school sites that we have large fields that I'm sure they would be able to utilize, you know, paint the grass, even mow it, or, you know, if it costs, just so that the kids have a recreational green space. I don't know if we could look into that, but I just want to make sure that we utilize our green spaces and let the community know that it belongs to them and they can come and take part of it and use it. I know it's kind of like I gave too many.
Okay, so I'll respond to a couple
Listen.
of your comments. First is,
A
so far as the list is consider, I mean, your question request, we'll give the list in a executive summary. So far as all the closed schools are concerned, all the fields are available, even now. So the closed schools, the fields are available. We, as I said, like 35 facilities. Even the schools that we had not been using and that we sold a couple of years back, there were activities on those fields always, had been always youth sports league that had been practicing on those fields. So we maintain the fields so far as them mowing and those that will take away work from our crew
Association, okay.
association. So we still maintain those closed schools just like any other school as of now. Not interior to the extent what we maintain on active schools, but so far as the upkeep curb appeal, we still maintain the facility and stuff, and they're available to everyone. The third question you had, are they the same fees? No. All sets have different fees. A classroom, 960 square feet, has a different fee than an MPR, than a school gymnasium, than a school football stadium with lights, without lights. A couple of constraints is we don't allow the use of kitchen. If they want to use the kitchen facilities, we have to have our kitchen staff, nutritional staff to be there, because they are responsible for food handling and safekeeping of the kitchen equipment. Restrooms are available, yes. And sometimes even some of the facilities just want to rent the public parking. There was another question that superintendent kind of texted me, religious facility, and the superintendent mentioned that some of the churches use the facility. So you have to kind of segregate the two. Any civic center facility use has to be open for all. So even if a church is opening it up for church sermons and stuff like that, it has to be open to all. So the church has to allow someone from a different faith to come in. So you cannot block someone from coming in. So that's the essence of civic center.
I think I saw Mr. Kwok, your hand up. Oh, it's very nice of you. Go ahead, Ms. Quinones. Holy moly. Mr. Kwok, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you to all the nice people here. So I just want to mention some very quick thing. One is that this is a software app solution so that we can offload it. The other thing is that whatever we do with respect to that, all thing that's great, but at the same time, we have to understand that we have to be good neighbors. And so the public that's there and so forth, they're concerned because many times they say, hey, this is unruly, there's trash, there's this, there's noise and so forth. So we have to be aware of that with respect to that. The other thing is that this is also very important. It's great that there's access by community groups with respect to these fields, but we also have to remember those fields are primarily for our kids. They have to make sure that we're maintained. They can't ruin the field. They can't damage the field. They can't compromise the field. So again, with those things in mind, there's a balance here. But again, very important to strike that balance. Thank you. And I yield back to the nice people.
Okay, so that was a great discussion. I think we're ready for a vote. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Quinones.
Yes, I have a few questions. The first one is, you said we have 35 facilities and we would be paying $299 per facility. Of the 35 facilities, how many are in use today? That's question number one.
So we are using all the 35 facilities. Those are available on our facility list for any public to use.
What I was trying to say, do we have contracts with nonprofits at those 35 schools currently?
Most of them, yes. Some of them maybe once a year, depending on the facilities. Some of them every week, every Saturday, Sundays, depending on what kind of facility it is. But there are folks that come in and may want to use one facility just for one event.
Second question is, the permits are per year and on a first come, first served basis. So what happens to those nonprofits that have rented our facilities for many years? Do they have the possibility of losing that facility because someone beat them to the punch?
That's true, because July 1, just the start of the business, we open it, the facility for the whole year, July 1 to June 30th. So if someone comes in and books those facilities, and usually they will come in and book every Saturday, particularly these are the basketball and other events, they will book the entire facility for the whole year. But again, as board member Mr. Kwok mentioned, the first dibs is always the schools. So the schools first get to reserve before we open it up for the entire public. The schools first reserve those facility for their own usage. So whatever they block up off on that particular classroom or particular facility is not available for public anymore.
And to your knowledge, out of those nonprofits that are currently renting this premises, are they open to the general public? Or are they only open to a particular section of the public?
It depends. If there is a institute that's charging a fee and only restricting certain, for example, it could be a after school enhancement class or tutoring that they want to charge a fee, they are not considered nonprofit, so they have to, at that point of time, depending on the fee, we charge them a full fee, reimbursement fee, and they can restrict as to who they allow based on the fee they paid.
So it's based on fee and nothing else?
No, it could be a nonprofit status also. So if I am a nonprofit and I'm kind of doing a voluntary work, opening it up for a public event, then there is limited fee. We don't recoup the capital cost, but we recoup the employee and the service charges. But if it's a full service fee, could be, I'll just throw an example, a taekwondo class. Someone is offering on Saturdays and they are charging the students that are coming in or any person that's coming in a fee, then we charge them a full charge, what we call a full cost. And they can restrict as to who they admit or who they don't. But we cannot say, I mean, there are things that we say it cannot be by any discrimination.
I'm kind of excited about maybe promoting the usage of our premises. I do know of some basketball leagues that are going outside of our area because there's not enough for them here. So I think now that if we promote this, we can bring those leagues back to our community where our kids can play. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. De La Torre.
Just real quick, I know it was mentioned nonprofit, but can some of our sites, like an NPR or like Little Auditorium, can they be rented to have a wedding, quinceañera, birthday parties? It would just be for that weekend. I mean, it just, and do they have to have like an MOU? Obviously, anybody coming in case somebody gets hurt or, you know, that they have insurance.
Good point. So anyone, irrespective of whether you are renting it for yourself or for a nonprofit, you have to have an insurance coverage because the district does not cover those liabilities associated with the use of events. Anything can happen. I can certainly go and rent the facility for my child's quinceañera, and stuff, as long as things, as Mr. Kwok mentioned, noise, alcohol, those are not allowed usually in school premises. So as long as they go by that, there is no restriction as to who can rent and who cannot.
Wow, that's actually a really good question because I hear people asking all the time about rentals for quinceañeras in particular and weddings. So that's a great question. Mr. Kwok, you have a question?
Really quick, since we're on the subject, not that I want to prolong this discussion, but in terms of insurance, that is a requirement. It's always been a requirement. Not only is that a requirement, but they also have to add the school district as an additional insured. All right? So, and anyway, I just want to, bring that up. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Yes, and I believe they have day permits for events like that. And so could somebody for profit or nonprofit rent it out to have a battle of the bands in one of our gyms? Because this has happened before in our district and we're curious how to do this again. So we could use it for that?
Yeah, I mean, there is no restriction. As I mentioned, like there is no formal restriction as long as it's not a very adult themed, something that's not kosher for a school district.
Okay, sounds good. Ready to take a vote?
Mr. De La Torre?
Aye.
Ms. Loera is not present. Ms. Quinones?
Aye.
Mr. Kwok?
Yes.
Ms. Serrano?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. We're going to be going to move forward to policy items. 6 policy items, 6.01 first reading.